Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 13th November 2025. Before getting started, I want to make a small announcement. We in our academy, we are going to launch new anthropology batch from November 25th onwards. The key features of this course are the duration is 4 months, every day 2 to 2.5 hours of classes, every day answer writing practice and weekly test, and we are going to provide material in the form of hard copy along with topic wise PYQs plus blueprint guys. So if you are interested to join this course and if you have any queries, please do contact us on the number which is appear on the screen, that is 8074765513, and please do register. The registration form link is given in the description box. Don't forget guys. Okay, now let us see the topics of the day. Today there are lots of topics that we have to discuss in this class. So first topic it is about one-horned rhino. So in our Hindu newspaper there is one image of one-horned rhino. So we have to see about certain facts regarding that animal. Because if you're getting any images regarding animals or plants in your paper, you may get a prelims based question regarding that. So we have to see that from GS paper 3 under environment and ecology point of view. And next topic is all high courts should upload details of time taken by judges to deliver pending decisions. This is the thing which mainly said by Supreme Court. So Supreme Court is giving an order for high courts to reveal the time. So this is very important from your polity from GS paper 2. And next topic is high levels of chromium mercury in residents. NGT directs UP government to map affected people. So actually there is one study which happened in this UP region, and in that study we find that in the blood of humans there is high concentration of chromium and as well as mercury. So we have to see about what are the reasons behind it and what will be the impact of this chromium and mercury in the blood of humans. This topic is important from environment and ecology and even science and technology from GS paper 3. And next topic is at 72.16%, Kerala stands fourth in employability rate. So there is one report released regarding employability rate in India. In that employability rate, Kerala stands fourth in place. So we have to see about what is that index. And this topic is important from your economy from GS paper 3. And next topic is India ninth worst affected by extreme weather, says study. There is one more report regarding this climate change. It says that across the world, India stands ninth place. This topic is important from environment and ecology from GS paper 3. And next topic is tuberculosis incidence falling in India by 21% a year. So again, one more report regarding TB cases in India. So this is important from GS paper 2 governance, and even from GS paper 3 science and technology also we can see this topic. And next topic is fine tune the AI labeling regulations framework. So recently our government of India came up with regulations to control synthetic data or AI generated data. So we have to see about once again regarding that rules and regulations came up by government of India. So this topic is important from governance from GS paper 2. And next topic is why does India's road safety system keep failing? Actually, what happened in the recent past, we saw bus accident in Chevela and even bus accident case in AP. And in lots of areas, there is increasing of accidents on roads. So here this article is analyzing what are exactly the reasons regarding road safety in India. And this topic is important from governance point of view. So all these are the topics now we are going to discuss in this class. Okay, see this image. Can you see rhinoceros? Okay, so this image is showing about one important animal species, that is one-horned rhinoceros. And this image was spotted outside of one wildlife sanctuary called as Pobithora Wildlife Sanctuary. So if you're getting any national park or any sanctuary or any biosphere reserve in news, you may get direct question regarding that. You may get question in this format. Recently, Pobithora Wildlife Sanctuary is in news. In which of the following state it is located? And they'll give you A, B, C, D simple options: Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland. So correct answer here is where it is located in state of? Come on, think. Online students, tell me Pobithora Wildlife Sanctuary is located in which state? It is in northeast. It is in Assam. So like that, you will be getting questions in your prelims. Direct questions also sometimes you can expect. Okay, if you say certain facts regarding this one-horned rhinoceros, the scientific name of this rhinoceros is Rhinoceros unicornis. It is having only one horn. It is listed under vulnerable under this IUCN Red List. Where it is located, it is seen in grasslands, alluvial floodplains, swamped region, and subtropical savannas. So these are the areas we can see this rhinoceros. And if you see the key features of this rhinoceros, it is largest of all Asian rhino species, and height is around 5 to 6 feet, and the weight of this rhinoceros is around 6,000 pounds. Okay, yeah. If you see about the protected areas of this one-horned rhinoceros, in certain national parks and in certain reserves, it is protected. So first one is Kaziranga National Park. It is located in Assam. And we can see largest population of this one-horned rhinoceros in this Kaziranga National Park. And second one is Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. And we can see highest rhino density here. What is the density? Per area, how many animals we can see? That is called as density, right? So highest rhino number is seen in Kaziranga National Park, but density of rhino is highest in this Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. And another area is Jaldapara National Park, which is in West Bengal. Gorumara National Park is in West Bengal, and Dudhwa National Park in UP. In these 5 areas, especially in states of Assam, West Bengal and UP, we are going for protection of this rhinoceros. It is very important. If you see certain facts regarding this Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, where it is located in state of Assam, especially in this eastern part of Guwahati. And this wildlife sanctuary was established near 1998, guys. Okay, and if you see about this history of this sanctuary, it is a reserved wooded land area in year 1971, and later on Government of India included this Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary in Indian Rhino Vision 2020 also. Very important point. And it is holding highest density of greater one-horned rhinoceros in our country. So these are the certain important facts of this Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary and as well as one-horned rhinoceros. You can get direct question regarding this statements which are discussed as of now. Okay, see this title, guys. All high courts should upload details of time taken by judges to deliver pending decisions, says Supreme Court. So what is the keyword that you can see here? The keyword here is, this article is talking about judiciary. It is talking about High Court and Supreme Court. And here Supreme Court is asking High Court to reveal or to upload the details of time taken. So if you are talking about judiciary in India, we have independent and integrated judiciary system. Which is the top court of our country. Top court of our country is Supreme Court. In every state we have top court, that is High Court. At the district level we have district courts or subordinate courts. And these district courts are divided into 2 types. We have civil courts. Next one is criminal courts. We have 2 types of courts at district level, civil courts and criminal courts. Okay, now what is the context? Now Supreme Court is asking High Court to upload time taken. Okay, now you guys think why Supreme Court is taking this decision now? What might be the reason? Just guess. Online students, please tell me in the comment box. Now Supreme Court is asking this High Court to upload time taken for resolving of cases. But why? What are the reasons why Supreme Court is asking? Yes, because the problem in our judiciary is increased pendency of cases. Next. And the time taken to give judgment is also delayed. So there is delayed justice. So there is a famous quote, delayed justice is denied. Okay, justice delayed is nothing but denied justice. Delayed justice. Okay, so because of this delayed justice system, can we improve trust in the people? That is leading to the erosion of trust. Erosion of trust is happening in our judiciary. Okay, next, other problems. Why there is increased time taken? Why there is delayed justice? What is the reason? There is even vacancies. Vacancies for the judges in Supreme Court, even in High Courts, even in District Courts. So because of all these reasons, now time taken to deliver the justice is increasing day by day. So because of this, there is loss of trust, and even what is happening here is people are not filing properly cases also. That is the reason. So now if high courts are uploading the details regarding exactly how much time taken to give the judgment to a case, means based on this time, now what can we do? Can we take any measures? Yes, based on this time, now we can take certain measures. Like we can go for, recently we discussed one advancement in judiciary. What is that advancement in judiciary that we discussed? Yes, we can go for adoption of AI, so that it will give the summary of the case, and it will be also suggest whether any prior or previous years or previous judgment related to a similar kind of case or not, and even it will be suggesting like which sections can be imposed, what will be the punishments, like that. So that what happen, it will become easy for the judges now to give the judgment, so that the time taken will be reduced or not. Yes, we can go for AI adoption. And next one is based on the time taken to deliver the justice, we can also go for filling of vacancies. We'll know that whether there is a need of extra judges or not. In judges also we have judges of High Court, and in the High Court and Supreme Court we have acting judges, like that. So we can go for recruitment of extra judges based on the number of pending cases and the time taken. And next, what can be done, guys? Think. We can adopt AI. We can go for vacancies. Next, can we increase the number of hours of working? Yes or no? Can we increase? Yes, we can increase the number of hours of working. And especially during this COVID-19 period, we went for online delivery of justice. In the same way, we can go for extra work. If there is any extra time they have to work, we can shift on to this online also, so that it will be feasible for both the people who wants to seek the justice, and even the judges who are delivering the justice. So those are the things that we are going to see now. If this High Court is uploading the time taken to deliver the cases or judgment. So from which topic it is important, guys? It is important from your polity from GS paper 2. And this topic is important from your mains, not from your prelims at all. So this article is saying that 2-judge bench of Supreme Court issued a landmark directive, and this directive is mandating. Mandating means nothing but compulsory. 100% is saying that now high courts across the country, to enhance transparency in judicial decision making, they have to disclose publicly their timelines related to the delivery and uploading of judgments. So whenever the case came to the judge, or like whenever the case came to the court, so how much time they are taking to deliver the justice to that case particularly, they have to upload the time, and it should be uploaded in a website where people will have access to find that, guys. So that what happened, people will know about what is happening, how much time it will take, and it will lead to the enhancing of transparency also. Okay, if you see the details here, the total number of judgments reserved by the judges after January 31st, 2025. Actually, what happened here is why this kind of judgment or this mandatory given by the Supreme Court is there is increased pendency of cases, and even the time taken by high courts to deliver judgment is also increasing day by day. And the next one here is the date of uploading of judgments is also not happening in the official High Court website, and even there are time gaps between reservation and pronouncement of the judgment. So because of all these reasons, now Supreme Court mandated all high courts in our country to upload their timelines, guys. Okay, yeah. So what happens if there is delayed in the judgment, whether any article is affecting or not, whether there is any fundamental right of citizens is getting affected? Yes, Article 21 talks about right to life and personal liberty is getting violated if there is delayed judgment. So because of this, yes, we have to go for speedy justice delivery system. And next one here is Supreme Court also said that within a reasonable period we have to go for justice delivery. What is that reasonable period? 2 to 6 months. Okay, but what are the factors which are leading to the justice delayed in our country? Case overloads is happening, and even there are complex legal issues, and even administrative side also we are having certain bottlenecks, and there is no proper infrastructure, and even occasional judicial inertia. Even judges are not giving this judgment fast. So because of all these factors, nowadays what is happening? Justice is delayed in our country. So because of this directive, do we have any positive impact on our judiciary? So Supreme Court now mandated high courts to upload their timings. So what is the impact of this directive of Supreme Court? What are the positive impacts? What are the positive impacts, guys? Online students, tell me in the comment box. First one is we can go for quick resolution of cases now. Because this move will mandate high courts to upload the time. That means it will be also accelerating justice delivery system. So that what happens? It will be reducing average delivery times. And what happens whenever we are going for speedy justice delivery system? As you all know that Indian prisons are overburdened, overloaded with prisons. Do you know this? So what is the capacity of these prisons? We are having at least twice the capacity of that prisons. Why? Because of this delayed justice system. So if you are going for fast delivery of the justice, we can also reduce burden on our Indian jails or Indian prisons also. That is second advantage. And this one here is we can enhance transparency and accountability because now data is available for the public in the public domains, public websites. So because of this, yes, we can increase transparency and trust. And this one here is we can also come up with some mandated reports. And now Supreme Court will be giving pan-India guidelines to be followed by High Court. So that what happens? We can go for integration of technology and even we can go for AI assisted case tracking also. So that it will be very helpful for fast disposal of cases. And this one is we can improve public trust and as well as confidence. We can build legitimacy as well. So these are the advantages of this Supreme Court mandatory directive towards high courts, guys. And see this article, guys. What's the title? Read out the title. High levels of chromium, mercury in residents. What is NGT? What is the full form of NGT? Anyone? Yeah, National Green Tribunal directs UP government to map affected people. Here, whenever you are reading your environment and ecology, you will come across different pollutants. So here, what are the pollutants given here? Chromium, mercury. So what you have to do is, you have to draw a table of pollutants. And you have to write impact. And if that pollutant is causing any disease, you have to write what is the name of that disease. UPSC has a tendency to ask match the following questions regarding this pollutants and the disease it causes. So now it is in news. It is a big issue actually. It is not a small issue. Actually, they found this chromium mercury not on the surface of skin, inside the blood. That means it is a very serious issue. You can see the image from where it is coming from drinking water. So through this drinking water contamination of this chromium and mercury, after people consuming it, it is going into their blood. So it is a serious concern now in this UP state. So you may get questioned regarding groundwater pollutants, guys. Okay, so how you can expect a question is consider the following metals. Which of the following metals are contaminating groundwater? So they gave only two here. Apart from that, you have to collect other important groundwater pollutants and their associated diseases, guys. For example, if there is nitrogen pollution, which disease which it causes? Blue baby syndrome. Mercury causes itai. So like that, you have to collect the diseases names along with this pollutants. For sure, 100% you will be getting question in your prelims regarding this groundwater pollutants. You have to prepare. So whatever the question may be, you need to be in a situation to answer that question. So as you all know, in prelims, how many types of questions you'll get? You'll get questions directly ABCD format. You'll get statements. In the statements also, they'll be asking you 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 2 and 3 like that. Or else they will ask only one statement is right, only two statements is right, in that way. And third way is match the following type of question. Fourth type here is you may get assertion and reason based questions. And fifth type here is they'll give you three statements and they'll say 1 and 2 statements are right, 3 is the correct explanation of that. So they will be giving this kind of statements, or else they will be giving you box format. So in this way, you will be getting 6 types of questions in your prelims, guys. So whatever the question may be, which is framed by UPSC, you need to be in a situation to answer this kind of questions. Clear? Okay, now let us see this article clearly. The principal bench of NGT, that is National Green Tribunal, issued a directive to UP government. What is a directive? To address escalating heavy metal contamination, primarily chromium and mercury, in the blood of residents in Kanpur region. Kanpur is famous for what, guys? Any idea? Kanpur region in UP is famous for what? Not saris. Come on, someone said. Online students, tell me, Kanpur is famous for which industries? Very, very important. Come on, tell me, guess, at least guess. It's not for saris. Next. Have you been to UP? No, ma'am. Leather tanning industries. Very important. Leather industries. Kanpur is famous for leather industries. Okay, in that Kanpur region, the residents, in their blood, there is increased heavy metal concentration, that is chromium and mercury. Okay, now let us see in detail about this issue. Finally, now NGT came into picture and NGT took this suo motu case. Suo motu means nothing but no one gave any case, no one filed the case, but itself it came forward to take this case. Okay, that is called as suo motu. So NGO took this suo motu case initiated in 2024. Why? Because of industrial pollution in this region from tanneries and factories. Tanning industries and as well as leather industries are famous. So from this industries, what is happening here? They are releasing chemicals. Because of that, that is contaminating the groundwater. Not only groundwater, even drinking water contamination is happening. Okay. So because of this, it filed a case and finally it said this UP government to map the areas where the people got affected with this heavy metal contamination. And NGT also said one more thing. Second thing is we have to use corporate social responsibility. What is corporate social responsibilities? It is nothing but industries or manufacturing unit or factories. What are the profit they are getting? They have to spend at least 2% of their profit for public services. It may be education, it may be health, it may be elderly people, whatever it may be, they have to do social service. So NGT said that we have to collect this corporate social responsibility fund and we have to go for strict enforcement of rules and regulations on these industries. Okay, that is the thing which mainly said by this NGT now. And if you see about what are the directives given by this NGT, first of all, it said that we have to go for identification of all affected regions. And it also directed this urban local bodies and the district of Kanpur in that regions, and they said that we have to estimate the total number of impacted residents in that area, and we have to go for conducting of blood test and as well as surveys, and we have to conduct environmental analysis, and we have to go for even finding of contamination of these heavy metals not only in water, even we have to see in livestock, even in the crops, surface water, groundwater, and even air quality. How much contamination happened so far in everything in that area, guys. So what will be the health impacts because of this chromium and mercury? First of all, it causes dermatitis. What is dermatitis? Itching skin, rashes on the skin, redness on skin, and even burning sensation on skin, that causes dermatitis. And this one is respiratory irritation. Whenever you are breathing, your nasal area, especially this nose part and throat part, will be burning. That is called as respiratory irritation. Next one is you will be having gastrointestinal distress. You will be having continuous motions, vomitings, diarrhea, whatever it may be. And sometimes if that concentration is very high, that will lead to kidney damage as well, and even ulcers in your stomach. And mercury triggers neurological symptoms. Mercury will be acting on directly your spinal nerves, cranial nerves, and brain, guys. That will lead to tremors. Tremors is nothing but, have you heard about this fits, seizures? Yes. So that kind of tremors it will be causing, and even cognitive impairment. You will be getting memory loss. You will not able to think more, and you will be not having proper coordination with your body parts and your brain. So like that, you will be having lots of neurological impacts because of this mercury pollution. And in the long term, the chronically, that means in the long term you have this kind of contamination in your blood, means it will causes cancer, developmental delays in children, and especially in couples they will be having reproductive issues, and that will lead to public health emergency as well. And if you see what will be the impact on our ecosystem, cattle will be getting affected, milk production will be getting affected, and crops will be also getting affected. That chemical will be entering into our entire food chain and food web, bioaccumulation, biomagnification. All these will be the impacts on our environment and ecology, guys. Okay? Yeah, now let us see the next article. See the title. At 72.16%, Kerala stands fourth in employability rate. What is the keyword? Employability rate. Okay, from which subject we can see this, guys? Economy. Okay, so this article is talking about employability in which state? Kerala. Kerala stands fourth state in India which is providing good employment rate. Okay. We can see good employment rate in Kerala. Now I want to ask you a question, guys. What is the reason why there is good employment in this Kerala? What are the reasons? Yes, literacy rate is very high. Apart from literacy rate, everyone knows that literacy rate is very high. That led to good employment rate. Apart from that, yes, government of Kerala is focusing on investments, and even it is supporting entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurship is very high in this Kerala. Yes or no? What is that scheme called as? Anyone, can you tell me that scheme? Kerala government is focusing on women entrepreneurship. What is that program called as? Have you heard about this Kutumbashree program? Yes, Kutumbashree program. So because of all these reasons, now we can see that employment rate is high in Kerala state. Now what we have to learn from Kerala? We have to learn exactly how Kerala government is improving the literacy rate. And recently one current affairs what we discussed regarding this Kerala state. It is the first state in India get out of extreme poverty. Apart from that, one more, digital literacy state. Okay, recently what are the current affairs regarding this Kerala? It is the first state in India came out of extreme poverty. On that day we discussed about what are the schemes. Kerala government came up to come out of this extreme poverty. Yes, I make you to note down somewhere. I don't know whether you note it down or not. And second one is, it is the first digital literate state in India. So these two are also contributed for this high employability rate in Kerala. Now it is fourth. So can you guess which are those 1, 2, 3 positions in our country? 1, 2, 3 positions. At least guess. Huh? Maharashtra. Next. Come on. Tamil Nadu. Karnataka. AP na? AP kaadu, Akash. AP kaadu, Telangana kaadu. It is not AP and it is not Telangana. Tell me other states. Guess. Bihar. Goa. Okay, let us see. Please make a note. India Skills Report 2026. 13th edition of this report released. And this report is released in collaboration with AICTE, CII, that is Confederation of Indian Industry. Next one is AIU, that is Association of Indian Universities, and VBox. And they came up with this India Skills Report 2026. So whenever reports are in news, you may get direct question regarding that for sure. 100% every year, at least one question regarding reports. How you can get question is, recently India Skills Report is in news. Which of the following organization releases that report? Simple ABCD options based question you will get there. Okay, what is the meaning of employability? Employability is defined as scoring above 6%, 60% across 4 pillars. So they'll focus on 4 pillars. Based on that, they'll give the percentage of employability rate. First one is communication skills. Especially they'll see how you are speaking English, whether you are having good communication skills or not. Second one is numerical aptitude. Next one is critical thinking. Next one is domain specific knowledge. For example, if you are from science, whether you have knowledge of science or not. If you are from maths, how much knowledge you have regarding maths. If you are from computers, how much knowledge you have. So that is domain specific knowledge and critical thinking. If you are giving any problem, whether you are having this problem solving skills or not. Next one is numerical aptitude, whether you can solve the questions or mathematics or not. And next one is communication skills. On these 4, we are deciding your employability rate. So Kerala has climbed to 4th place. Actually earlier it was 5th place. Now it moved on to 4th place. And the first state is UP, Uttar Pradesh. Second one is Maharashtra and third one is Karnataka, guys. It is not Tamil Nadu. Okay, first place occupied by UP, second is Maharashtra, third is Karnataka, and fourth is Kerala, and next places are AP and Telangana, guys. AP, Telangana and Delhi. What are the key highlights of this report? The first one is overall employability in India is 56.35. If you compare with last year, yes, we improved to some extent, around 2% we improved. And next one is, for the first time, women employability rate is 54% in India. And men's employability is 51. Women are leading here. Women, you have to be very proud now. Women employability rate is 54% and men is 51.5. Overall, 40% of IT and ZIG workers use AI tools daily. Who is using AI tools more? IT workers and ZIG workers. And especially Tier 2 cities like Kochi, Lucknow are emerging as talent hubs for global capacity centers. Not Tier 1 cities are producing good talent, but even Tier 2 cities are also emerging as the talent hubs. So these are the highlights. First one is overall employability rate in India is 56%. For the first time, women employability rate is 54. So please make a note of this women employability rate, because you can use that data when you are writing about women empowerment, women related things. Okay. And next one is IT and ZIG workers are using more AI. And next one is Tier 2 cities are also becoming as a global hub. Okay, now we have to see why Kerala achieved this ranking, 4th ranking. And we have to learn from this Kerala state, especially because AP and Telangana states are behind this Kerala, right? So we have to learn what this Kerala did and what kind of schemes they came up, so that we can implement the similar kind of schemes in other states, so that we can also improve employability rate in other states as well. Okay, first one here is Kerala has good literacy rate, that you know. And next one is they have good cognitive and as well as communication skills. And they came up with program called as ASAP Kerala, launched in 2012. And under that program, they trained around 1.5 million youth. And they came up with certified courses in the colleges directly. And next one is they focused on future ready skills. They came up with integration of AI, digital literacy, soft skills in their curricula. And 40% of the Kerala's, they are the test takers showed AI tool proficiency. And even recently, Kerala recently declared that it is the first digital literacy state in India. And this one is Kerala government came up with this women-centric policies. They focused on gender inclusive skilling, and there is very high female participation in healthcare. And Kerala government came up with flexible work models, and they came up with the safe urban ecosystem, so that they gave top choice for the women professionals. Okay, and next one here is tier 2 city is also developing in this Kochi. They are going for infrastructure development like IT parks, airports, which will be mainly attracting some global centers. Okay, and next one is they are coming up with certain policy ecosystems like investments in community skill centers. They are focusing on entrepreneurship hubs, and they are focusing on hybrid learning, that accelerated digital skilling, everything. So because of all these steps taken by the Kerala government, that led to this moving towards 4th place in this employability rate. Okay, see this article guys, India 9th worst affected by extreme weather, say study. So this article is talking about extreme weather events in India. Okay, now you guys tell me, what are the extreme weather events that we can see in our country? Normally now climate change is happening at a very faster rate. So because of this climate change, what is happening? Extreme weather events are happening in our country. Can you give me some examples of extreme weather events? Example, we have heat waves. There is increased melting of glaciers. Yes. Because of increased melting of glaciers, what is happening? Increased water level in which rivers? Himalayan river system. Because of that, it is causing floods. And next one is because of climate change. It is having impact on our monsoon system. In certain areas, very heavy rainfall. In certain areas, very low rainfalls. Yes or no? Recently, AP also hit by this. And even recently, what is the cyclone that affected India? Name. Cyclone Monta. Yes or no? So, India is having a very huge, long coastline. We have Arabian Sea and we have Bay of Bengal. So, these two are very much vulnerable to cyclones. So, recently we affected with the cyclone Monta. And next, landslides are happening or not? Especially in these Himalayan states, landslides. And not only that, because of climate change, there is increased mini cloudburst. Recently, IMD said that there is increased mini cloudburst in India. Next, Himalayan region, it is not stable. Yes or no? It is highly active region. What we can see there? Earthquakes in this region. Next. And even recently in the south part, especially in this Ooty, Kodaikanal region, we experienced cold wave. Yes or no? Very, very low temperature had been recorded in that region. So we are also having this cold waves, heat waves, melting of glaciers, floods, untimely rainfall in this monsoon season. And this one is landslides, cyclones, mini cloudburst, earthquakes. Any other things that we can see here? Come on, think. Any other extreme weather events? So what is happening here? Melting of glaciers, increasing of sea level. So because of this increasing of sea level, what happens here? Coastal areas inundation, this coastal area will be coming inundated under water. So because of this, what happened now? These coastal areas people, they have to come inside. So if they have to come inside, will these people who are living in this inside will accept them? That will lead to increasing of social conflicts because of this extreme weather events. Okay, so these are the some extreme weather events that we are facing right now. So this article is saying that India stands 9th place in the world where we are experiencing extreme weather events. Okay, so from which subject we can see this, guys? From GS paper 3 under environment and ecology, we can see this. So we all know that yes, India is very much vulnerable to these extreme weather events. Now you guys tell me, what are the measures we can take to control these extreme weather events? Can we control this? Tell me, what can be done? Come on, think. What can be done? Achieving the targets. Okay, what are those targets? So we have different targets. What are they? We have NDCs, INDCs, intended nationally determined contributions. What are they? We have to increase our renewable energy capacity. We have to decrease our carbon dioxide emissions, and we have to decrease our climate change. We have to decrease the global warming. Okay, so we have to achieve our INDCs. Next one is, yes, we have to go for increasing of our carbon sinks. Carbon sinks are nothing but the areas which can absorb more carbon dioxide. What are those? We have forest and we have oceans. We have to protect our oceans and as well as forests to increase our carbon sinks. Next, what can be done? Come on, think. Come on. Okay, now let us see this article in detail. You have to make note of this report, guys. Okay, this report is Climate Risk Index. Please make a note. Climate Risk Index 2026 released by German Watch. Climate Risk Index released by German Watch. Please keep star mark for this. It is an independent German environmental think tank. And it said that India's place is 9th place, which is mostly affected by this extreme weather events. And they did study from 1995 to 2004, and based on these events that happened in India between this 1995 to 2004, they said that India is in place 9th. Okay, if you see the highlights of this report, they said that there are 430 documented extreme weather incidents happened in India from 1995 till 2024. On average, every year we are having at least 14 extreme weather events in India on average. So it will be going to increase. Yes or no? And next one is, because of this extreme weather events, human toll is also increasing. If you see, if there is any cyclone, if there is any flash floods, if there is any urban floods, if there are any earthquakes, if there are any what are the earthquakes or whatever it may be, what is happening? Increasing of deaths of the people, and it will be affecting around approximately 1.3 billion Indians. It is also causing economical damage. If there is any cyclone, what happens? The winds will be moving at a very high speed, minimum 120 to 140 kilometers per hour. Especially AP guys, you know about this wind speed and how it has caused distress, damage of infrastructure, everything. So after once disaster completed, again government has to spend a lot of money and government has to invest, and again we have to go for rebuilding of structure, reconstruction, rehabilitation. If people dies, government has to give ex gratia or compensation for sure. Yes. So for this, what is happening? Economic loss, economic damage is happening. Okay, that is the thing. So why does India's rank is 9th? Because of diverse topography especially we are having Himalayas, glacial outbursts, glacial lake outburst flood is happening, and they are having coastal line, big coastline. We have very much vulnerable to our Arabian Sea related cyclones and Bay of Bengal related cyclones. And recently cyclone Manta, apart from that cyclone Wumphan, like that. And next one is we have Indo-Gangetic plains, and these plains are very much susceptible to droughts and as well as floods because of this Himalayan river. And next one is we have Deccan Plateau. Deccan Plateau is famous for what? Heat waves. And next one is mostly 70% of our rainfall in our country, we are dependent on this monsoon rainfall. Sometimes it will trigger floods. Whenever floods happens, again it will cause deaths. Sometimes we have La Nina, sometimes we have El Nino. If we are having El Nino, there will be less rainfall. If we are having La Nina, very good rainfall. If El Nino happens, means there is increased droughts. And this one is there is increased frequency of climate change related weather events are happening in our country. Especially heat waves are becoming 30% hotter by every year. And this one is human and socio-economic vulnerabilities happening, especially rural or agrarian people. They will be getting more or worse affected because of this heat waves. And not only that, low-income groups like farmers, migrants, they will be having 80% more burden rather than rich and elite people. And next one here is, if there is no proper rainfall, if there is no availability of employment opportunities in rural areas, now people has to shift towards urban areas, right? So because of this, what happens? There will be increased pressure on urban areas. That will lead to development of slums. So whenever slums are developing at a very rapid pace, then what happens? Again, these people will be more vulnerable in the slum areas. Okay, and human induced warming is also happening every day, because as you all know that we are using more vehicles, we are using more electronic devices, we started using AI. Because of this, there is increased demand for electricity. And from where we are producing this electricity? By burning coal. Again, that is releasing more amount of greenhouse emissions into atmosphere. Okay. See this article, guys. Tuberculosis incidence falling in India by 21% a year. WHO report. So this article is talking about decreasing of tuberculosis cases by 21%. So here you have to see what is tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is caused by bacteria or virus or protozoa. Yes, bacteria. What is the name of bacteria which causes tuberculosis? Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Which body parts will be getting affected because of this TB? Not only lungs. So actually, many people think that TB is nothing but it will cause cough. Whenever you are coughing, you'll get sputum, and even sometimes the blood will be coming from your mouth. That is a normal perception of people regarding this TB. But this TB, in this TB we have two types of TB. First one is respiratory TB. Respiratory TB means it will affect our only respiratory organs. It may be our lungs, it may be bronchi, it may be bronchioles, it may be alveoli. This nasal part will be getting affected. And we have extrapulmonary TB. Extrapulmonary TB means nothing but this TB causing microorganism, that is bacteria. It will not affect our respiratory system. Other than that, it will be affecting other organs. Like it may affect kidney, it may affect our heart, it may affect intestines, it may affect stomach, and even TB will affect your eyes. Eyes will also get TB, guys. So those are called as extrapulmonary TB. And what is the problem in this TB here is, if you once diagnosed with this TB, you have to take antibiotics. Antibiotics to kill this Mycobacterium tuberculosis in your body. And you have to take, it will be for sure every day for more than 6 months. For more than 6 months, you should not take any leave. You have to take this tablet continuously twice a day or thrice a day based on the doctor prescription. But what happens? Do we have that much consistency? So even if you pay for a gym for 1 year, will you go every day to gym? After 2 to 3 months, Amma, I will not go. I am feeling tired. I have work. Like that, we'll skip. What about these tablets then? Will we take? We humans will not take that much focusedly, that much consistent on this medicines actually. So because of this, what happened, whenever you are having the severe symptoms of TB, for 1 to 2 months you will be taking this. After that, what happens, sometimes the symptoms will be subsided, so you will be not getting that much cough. You will be feeling like, yeah, I'm good, I'm out of this, like that. Then what happened, you will stop this medicine. So whenever you're stopping this medicine, what happened? That bacteria will be developed with another protection shield around it. And if you take that same medicine, it will not work. This concept is called as antimicrobial resistance, antibiotic resistance. So this bacteria will be developing this antibiotic resistance. So this is the major problem in this TB case. Okay, so here to reduce this TB in our country, Government of India came up with lots of steps. First one here is government started providing finance for this TB patients. Every month they will be getting, recently they had been increased to 1000 rupees. So every month TB patient will be getting 1000 rupees under scheme. Not only that, government came up with this one more program called as TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. And not only that, government is focusing on improving of surveillance of this TB by increasing mobile X-rays. Okay, so like that, government is coming up with lots of innovative steps to control TB in our country. So today's work is you have to work on this TB, guys. You have to collect data. First one is number of TB cases in India, and next you have to see recent advancements. Our government came up with one new drug to treat this TB. Okay, so you have to see what is that new drug. I can't recall the name right now. So see that new advanced treatment. And next one is you have to see about programs of Government of India to control or to curtail this TB. Okay, and next one is you have to see about what are the extra measures can be taken to control TB in India. And today I'll be giving you the mains question based on this topic so that you'll do that work for sure. Okay. And let us see the next article. Title says fine-tune AI labeling regulations framework. So already we discussed this topic in detail, guys. Let us have once again the discussion regarding this. So recently our Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology proposed amendments to IT rules 2021. And they said that we have to mandatory label AI generated content. It may be content, it may be image, or it may be video, whatever the thing that you are generating by using AI, you have to label that, yes, this so and so image is generated by AI. Why? Because nowadays what is happening, deepfakes are increasing, morphing of videos is happening, and people are not having any idea what is original content and what is AI generated content. So if you scroll in your YouTube shorts also, most of the videos are AI generated videos. Sometimes they will appear like realistic videos only. So even we will not find that whether it is original information or like AI generated. So what about this illiterate people in the rural areas? So because of this, government is taking a lot of steps to say that which information is original and which information is AI generated. Okay, so government came up with certain provisions. First one is mandatory self-declaration by creators. For example, the creators who are using their platforms like YouTube, Insta or X, whenever they are posting any image or any poster or any video, they have to give a declaration that this information is generated by AI. And second one here is the platforms has to ensure that AI generated content carries two visible markers. First one is if you are posting any image or post, 10% of area should be covered by this label AI generated, so that the people who are seeing that, they will be that label will be clearly visible to them. And next one here is if any user who are not following these regulations, then what happened? They will be getting punished. They are accountable. And next one here is definition of synthetic content. So in this draft, they also came up with what is the meaning of synthetic content. Synthetic content is nothing but information which is generated artificially by using any AI. Then that kind of information is called as synthetic content. So here they came up with for the first time the definition of what is synthetic content also. So these are the steps taken by the government to protect people, to make them aware which is the right information, which is the AI generated information. And there is one more article, guys. So this article is saying that why does India's road safety system is keep failing? So this article is talking about what are the problems in our roads. So now you guys tell me, you are majors, you have experience of traveling on road, you're also having experience of driving vehicles. Now you guys tell me what are the problems in our road system. Come on guys, tell me. Okay, quality of infrastructure is one problem. Next. Heavy vehicles are going in small roads also. Okay, next. Okay, without testing whether they know the driving or not, they will be getting driving license. Next. Okay, political leaders and contractors having nexus, so that ineligible people are getting this contracts of roads. Okay, next. Come on, think. It is not at all a new topic. Yes, we are not taking proper safety measures, and even people, they don't know how to. Normally, what happens whenever you're going or traveling on the road, we'll be having certain signboards. Do you know this? Many people who are driving, they don't know what is the meaning of that signboard, what is the meaning of that symbol. So because of that also, this kind of accidents are happening. Next. Okay, no strict rules regarding what? Yes, overspeeding.
Even though there is strict rules, but the management is not.
Okay, even though rules are there, but management is not properly maintaining them. Okay, speeding, overweight, overload. Even you can see buses. Students, they will stand on the steps also. On one step, 5 students or 6 students. I don't know why. Next.
No quality measurements.
No?
Quality measurements.
No quality measurements. Next. Even the traffic is increasing in that road, they'll not go for widening of roads because of land acquisition problems. Next. Okay, this article is saying that Supreme Court took cognizance of 2 mass casualty road crashes. In Rajasthan, around 14 people killed, and in Telangana, around 19 people killed, and even in AP, many people were died. So there are more than 1.7 lakh lives were lost in just 2023 alone in these road crashes. That means we can see lots of people, they are losing their life in this road crashes. Here this article is saying that we need to go for proper licensing of vehicles. Not only licensing of vehicles, even proper licensing for the drivers of these vehicles. And this one is training need to be first line of defense against accidents. So whoever are involving in this driving of heavy vehicles, they have to undergo the training before they are getting the license. And next one here is speeding, overloading, lane violations, and driving under the influence remain among the top causes of fatal crashes in India. First one is speeding, overspeed. Next one is overloading. Third one is lane violation. They will not go in their lanes. They will cross their lanes. And next one is driving under the influence, like for example, alcohol, like that. So these are the main causes of top fatalities in our country. For many victims of road crashes in India, survival depends not on the impact itself, but on what happens in the critical hour that follows. So actually what happens here is whenever the accident happens, within 1 hour, if you are providing proper treatment, we can save their life. That 1 hour after accident is called as golden hour. But what happens if you see any accident? Will we go and will we call the police? We will not do that because we have a fear. If we inform about that incident, police will call us repeatedly to police station, police will come to my home, what other neighbors will think about me, what society thinks about me. So all these things are there in our country. So because of this, people are not helping, especially accident related events in our country in this golden hour. So that is the thing which mainly said by the Supreme Court is the people who are helping in this kind of accidents to shift these patients or to shift these victims to the nearby hospital within that golden hour, they are called as Good Samaritans. And Karnataka came up with this Good Samaritans law also, which will be providing immunity for this Good Samaritans regarding these cases, everything. So in that same way, each and every state has to come up with this Good Samaritans law so that we can improve the quality of life of these victims after these road accidents. So these are the some important articles which appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper, guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And if you like this class, please do hit the like button and please do share this class to your friends. And you can follow us on our Telegram channel where we are providing notes of this class in PDF format so that you can download the notes. And you can follow us on our Instagram page where we are providing prelims question with model answer, prelims question with answer, and as well as mains question with model answer, and also current affairs in short. And we have two YouTube channels. One is Telugu official and one is English official. You can follow us on our both channels, guys. Thank you so much.